Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to share this one with you because we're tackling what can only be described as a total gauntlet of linguistic acrobatics. We're going to meticulously break down a trio of notoriously difficult, incredibly specific phrases under the fascinating banner of sibilant shorelines and seaside slip-ups. Now, if you're a fan of clear communication, what we're about to look at is essentially the final boss of articulation. It's a masterclass in how just a handful of seemingly innocent words can completely short-circuit human speech. Today, we're uncovering the hidden architecture behind these phrases and figuring out exactly why they are so spectacularly hard to say. Right off the bat, I want you to read the phrase we're looking at, and right now, wherever you're sitting, just try saying it perfectly out loud, just once, at a normal conversational speed. She sells seashells by the seashore. Did you nail it? Or did your tongue just perform a clumsy gymnastics routine? It's amazing, isn't it? Literally, the second the human eye processes this text and sends the command down to the mouth, the vocal cords and the tongue immediately get confused. The text looks simple, the vocabulary is elementary, and yet the physical execution of these words is a total treacherous trap. Okay, let's dive into this because this isn't just some random accident of the English language. There's a precise scientific and phonetic reason why this incredibly brief source material is so uniquely devastating to our pronunciation. We really need to dissect the very DNA of these sentences to understand the mechanics of the trap we all just fell into. Section 1, the science of sibilance and the threat of the S sound. To approach this with the kind of grave, analytical tone it deserves, we have to recognize that these aren't just silly phrases. They are highly concentrated, honestly hostile phonetic environments. So let's define our terms here, drawing straight from the title of our source material. What does sibilant actually mean? Well, it's characterized by a hissing sound, specifically the S or sh sounds. When we talk about sibilant shorelines, we're talking about an environment absolutely saturated with this exact hissing frequency. It requires you to force air through a tiny, precise little channel formed by your tongue and your teeth. Doing it once? Totally fine. Doing it repeatedly? That is exactly where the system failure begins. Now, what's really interesting is when we map out the specific words across these texts, a pattern immediately emerges. We've got the hard S sounds, cells, see, six, snails, saw, Susie, sitting. And then we have the softer, broader SH sounds, she, shells, shore, shoe, shine, shop. The true genius, and frankly the cruelty of our source material, is that it doesn't just use one or the other. It forces the speaker to rapidly, violently alternate back and forth between these two specific phonetic groups. Your tongue literally has to constantly adjust its position by mere millimeters over and over again at high speed. To really drive this home, let's look at the literal data. Across the entirety of the three texts we're studying, there's an overwhelming, almost suffocating presence of these S and SH sounds compared to literally any other consonant. The sheer density of these sounds is wild. These specific texts aren't just accidental tongue twisters. Mathematically, statistically speaking, they are engineered for phonetic failure. The density of sibilance is completely disproportionate to normal human speech patterns. Section 2, Commerce by the Coast and the Economics of the Shoreline. Let's transition into our first specific case study. I want us to look past the phonetics for just a second and examine the actual narrative happening here. We're going to analyze the highly serious, data-driven economics of shoreline retail presented in our primary phrase. We've methodically broken down the four core components of our subject's coastal business model. We've got the proprietor, she. We have the action of commerce, sells. We have the physical inventory, seashells. And we have the geographic location of the enterprise, the seashore. When we enunciate them carefully like this, we see a complete microeconomy captured in just 4 words. So the crucial point here, and you kind of have to laugh at this, is the absolute absurdity of this business strategy. On one hand, her product is seashells. On the other hand, the market location is literally by the seashore. She's attempting to sell a product in the exact location where that product is naturally, infinitely, and freely available to any passing consumer. From a pure economic standpoint, selling shells at the shoreline is a bafflingly poor strategy, and yet she persists. It adds this fascinating layer of commercial tragedy to our linguistic struggle. Section 3, the snail migration and mechanics of slippery movement. Okay, let's leave human commerce behind and move to the second sentence in our source material. We're transitioning away from the shoreline economy and venturing right into the animal kingdom. Read this with me and really emphasize the diction. 6. Slippery, snails, slid, slowly, seaward. You can physically feel the unbroken, slippery string of those S sounds sliding right across your teeth. It perfectly mimics the very action it describes. The text doesn't just tell you about the snails, it forces your mouth to emulate their slow, viscous journey. Notice that number, 6. This isn't just the head count for our little gastropod subjects. This is the exact number of consecutive S words in this sentence. 6 words in a row, all starting with the exact same sibilant trap. This represents the highest uninterrupted phonetic escalation in our entire source text. It is just a relentless, unyielding chain of hissing consonants. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer mechanics and the sort of micro-narrative procedure of this journey. Step 1 establishes the state of being. There are 6 of them, and they are slippery. Step 2 dictates the method of locomotion. They're sliding, and they're doing it slowly. Step 3 provides the navigational vector, heading seaward. It's an incredibly precise sequential breakdown of biological movement, completely encoded within a phonetically hostile string of text. Section 4. Susie's Shop Stakeout and the Sedentary Observer. Finally, we arrive at the third and final source sentence in our analysis, and I want you to approach this one differently. We're shifting from biology to what feels like a gritty, first-hand stakeout report from an eyewitness. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. The drama of this line is palpable. Unlike the omniscient descriptions of the seashell vendor or the migrating snails, we suddenly have the introduction of a first-person narrator, I. There is an eyewitness to this event. Someone is actively surveilling Susie in this highly specific retail environment. When we break down this stakeout, a really stark contrast emerges. On the active side, we have an observer. I saw Susie. This implies vigilance, watching, recording. But on the passive side, look at our subject. What is Susie actually doing? Well, she's simply sitting in a shoe shine shop. She's entirely sedentary. She is existing completely passively while absolutely surrounded by the chaotic sibilance of the shoe shine shop. Let's walk through the specific phonetic traps hidden within this seemingly innocent observation. Trap 1. Transitioning from the soft S in saw to the buzzing S in Susie. Trap 2. Moving from Susie right into the sharp S of shitting. And then, the brutal finale. Trap 3, shoe versus shine, and Trap 4, shine into shop. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe sign shop. Wait, excuse me, a shoe shine shop. See? Even when you know the traps are coming, the rapid alternation between the hard S and the SH completely derails the sentence. It honestly proves the point perfectly. Section 5, Surviving the Slip-Up, in conclusion. Let's move to our wrap-up and see how this all builds together. We've survived the economics, the migration, and the stakeout. Looking at the 3 distinct environments of our phonetic gauntlet, the shoreline, the snail migration, and the shop stakeout, we see that despite their totally different narratives, they carry an equal, massive weight in linguistic difficulty. They all require an extreme density of sibilants to navigate. They are basically 3 perfectly balanced pillars of pronunciation failure. Which brings us to the core takeaway for today's explainer. Why does this actually matter? It matters because we use language every single day, and we totally take it for granted. We ignore the incredible, sometimes impossible physical mechanics happening right on our lips, teeth, and vocal cords. The mouth is simply no match for the S and SH showdown. It's a really humbling reminder of the limits of human biology when faced with cleverly arranged text. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative challenge. We've analyzed the data, we've studied the environments, and we've unpacked the narratives, but the real test happens in your own mind and on your own tongue. She sells seashells by the seashore. 6 slippery snails slid slowly seaward. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Can you say them all 3 times fast? Good luck, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.